The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collector's world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, it's where the next billionaires will be made. It's comics and crypto.
What is up, VeVe fam? Welcome to episode 2, where we're going to be focusing on the top 10 Copper Age comics that we hope are going to come to VeVe. We are joined today with the amazing Sleepyn Comics. What's up, Sleepyn? Hey, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. Let's do round 2.
I know, I'm so pumped. This is going to be a lot of fun. For everyone who doesn't know what the Copper Age is, the Copper Age are comics that released between 1986 and 1992. That's the Copper Age. Coming in at number 10 is Wolverine number 1. This is the first solo comic of the series, and it's the first appearance cameo of Yukio. It's one of the most famous Frank Miller and Joe Rubinstein covers in art. And also this comic, so the premise of this comic, it highlights Wolverine's time in Japan, where the story arc covers his battle with the Yakuza, the Hand Ninja organization, and his engagement to Mariko Yoshida. This is also based off the 2019 film The Wolverine.
With Frank Miller's art is such iconic covers. I think the one with him beckoning is really one that everybody thinks of. That, of course, Hulk 181, which is Wolverine's first appearance, which is another one that probably will come to the VeVe app. And this one, of course, everybody really knows because of the Wolverine movie was based off of this one.
As a 9.8 grade, Go Collect estimates this comic is worth $775. There are currently 21,743 graded issues on the CGC census, and the 90-day average sale is $920. That is insane. 21,743. I don't think I've ever seen a comic have more than that.
I think
That's crazy.
ASM 361 is the most graded, right? So that's got to be, I don't even know what that one is.
Wow.
But yeah, anytime you're over 21,000, it's a lot of comics.
Whenever I grade a high volume of comics, I always reference Ultimate Fallout 4, and that has 13,343.
Yeah, I think 361 is like, well, we could look up 361, but I think that is the most graded comic.
Insane market cap. What's really cool, though, when you have that many editions, you have a better chance to get 9.9s and 10s. So there are currently 27 9.9 graded comics. The last sale was in 2019 for $2,760. There's currently 27 9.9 grades on the CGC census, and the last sale was in 2019 for $2,760. But I think this probably could reach as high as $15,000. What are your thoughts, Sleepyn?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously the 9.9 is so spectacular, and as this comic is so iconic, so definitely. And Wolverine has only gained in popularity, and probably will continue just to gain as they bring him into the MCU. So definitely. If you could find a 9.9 of this guy, it'd be a good one.
On top of that, there's 3 10.0 grades, and the last sale was in 2009 for $15,535. What do you think it would sell for today? I have my estimate. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
A lot.
20,000, 30,000. It's gonna be up there.
I was thinking at least 50. I mean, you're looking at
Really?
only 3 copies. Only 3 copies. This book is really hot. There's only 3 copies, and it sold for $15,000 back in 2009. 13 years ago.
Wow, I agree with that. It's gonna go for a lot.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I think a lot of these too, when there's so few of them, like this one for like a 10.0 grade, there's gonna be hard FOMO. I mean, setting aside there's no recession happening and the economy is doing just fine, and the comic market's hot. Yeah, I mean, I think people will go FOMO on these very, very scarce, rare comics in these high grades.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's really cool, as a 9.8 newsstand, the fair market value for this $1,550. So it's definitely, you look at about a 2x as a newsstand.
Do we need to explain newsstand, or are you done that?
I was just going to say, yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. So for newsstands, go ahead, Sleep, and you can explain newsstand a little bit.
In the olden days, most of the comics were actually sold on these spinner newsstands that you might see in older movies. And then I think it's around in the early 1980s, it transferred. So most of the books were sold at local comic book stores, and less were sold at newsstands. And so a newsstand might be considered like sold at Walmart or still on spinners like in grocery stores. But the ratio before the early 1980s was like 80% newsstand, 20% what they call direct through local comic book shops. And then that shifted in the early 1980s to 20% newsstand, 80% direct or at the local comic book stores. So that newsstand edition, like I said, there might be only 20% or less of them in the world, and they could be very beat up because they might be literally kept on a spinner rack or something like that and not kept in good condition. So the way you generally identify a newsstand edition, and it depends, but for the most part, when you're looking at the various logos on the cover of the comic, the newsstand ones generally have like a barcode, whereas the direct ones generally have, especially with the Marvel ones, would have like a Spider-Man face.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate. I was number 11 is Secret Wars #1, and I actually own. Spencer and I both own a 9.8 newsstand of that comic, and I'm really proud of. I went on the hunt for this one, Sleeping. I'm excited to tell you this one. There's a 9.8 newsstand, a Canadian price variant. There's only I think 10 or 15 on the CGC census, which was pretty.
Wow, you have one?
Yeah. I contacted a guy on eBay and I was like, please give it to me. Come on. And he's actually local. It was just crazy. And we drove and met up in person. It was wild.
So I had this crazy, I used to own 9.8s of all the direct Secret Wars. And then I had this crazy notion to try and get 9.8s of all the newsstand. So I bought all these newsstand raws and pressed them and attempted to get 9.8s. And of all those ones I sent in, I spent like hundreds of dollars on it. It was ridiculous. And of all of them, I think one came back a newsstand 9.8, and all of them were like 9.2s and 9.4s, which, as you know, a modern book, when it's a 9.2, 9.4, it's generally not going to be very valuable. So I ended up selling them over the years, but yeah, that wasn't very wise.
Coming in at number 9, Amazing Spider-Man 316. This is a key Todd MacFarlane cover. It's a classic Venom versus Spider-Man, one of the most classic covers of all time.
Yeah, this is another one of those Spider-Man keys, especially with Venom, and we're probably going to talk a little bit more about him, I'm sure, and is iconic, and is, when people are looking at Spider-Man specifically, this is a cover that comes to mind. And then, of course, if you're a Venom collector, this is definitely one of the must-haves. And, of course, Todd MacFarlane.
It's pretty crazy, too, because this comic, I remember it was only a few $100s, maybe $200, maybe $250, and then it just took off. March of last year, this comic just started soaring, and it just didn't look back. As a 9.8 grade, according to Go Collect, this book is currently valued at $825 with a 90-day average sale of $966.
Yeah, I think those, it was just, obviously we've seen Venom in the Sonyverse over the past couple years, and ASM 300, which has always been a big key, which is the first appearance of Venom, kind of took off, and then with it, it pulled all these other Venom keys.
There are currently only 10 9.9 grades, and the last sale was in 2019 for $5,000, but I estimate that this could probably sell up to $20,000.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Only one 10.0 grade, and it's never been sold.
I wonder who has that. Sean, do you have that one?
No.
Yeah, you're gonna have to cut that because I said your name.
I'm gonna say probably Dr. Profit. That probably has it.
I like that. I agree.
What do you think this is? What do you think this could sell for? If it was on the market tomorrow, what would it sell for?
It's a one of one, and so you're really talking about, and I know we don't talk about a lot, which is what's called original art. So a lot of these covers and comics, the original art, which is one of ones, either Marvel has or sometimes the artist has it. And when they go on the market, they sell for tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when you're talking about a 10.0, this one is kind of in that original art world. And so, yeah, you're probably talking 50, 60, 100,000 maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, probably 100,000 because it's a one-of-one. It really is one of a kind. There's no other one like it. It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, it was like the Secret Wars #8 original art you mentioned. That sold for over $3 million.
Oh, that's a great price point. Obviously, this isn't in that realm, but it gives us a sense of it.
As a 9.8 newsstand, the fair market value on Go Collect is $1,600. So again, you're looking at a 2x as a newsstand. Pretty remarkable. Coming in at number 8, Amazing Spider-Man 238, the first appearance of Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin, aka Ned Leeds, from everyone knows is Spider-Man's friend in the Spider-Man films. Hobgoblin has superhuman strength, reflexes, intelligence, regenerated healing factor, which uses his Halloween-themed paraphernalia and high-tech gadgetry. He also rides on a goblin glider, which is equipped with various weapons. Do you think that we'll see Ned Leeds in the MCU as Hobgoblin?
I don't know. I mean, it's possible, and he has these magic skills now, so I don't know what's going on there. It's possible something's going to happen.
You know what's really crazy, guys? And I saw this recently. If you watch Spider-Man No Way Home, Ned is wearing a varsity jacket, and the colors of the varsity jacket are identical to the Hobgoblin. He's wearing it throughout the movie.
He also has a line. I can't remember if it's in the most recent Spider-Man or the other one where he says something. I don't quite remember. He says something along the lines like, "What do you think? I'm going to turn into some evil?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I think it's inevitable that we see him because you remember, I mean, spoiler alert, for anyone who didn't see it, you're at a loss now. There's that scene where in the end, when Ned and him, they don't know each other anymore. They go down different paths. So he's going to lead a completely different life. And what's that life going to lead? Probably down a dark path. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays, but I'm very high on this comic. And for that reason, I think it could do very well because of it.
Yeah, this is a great one. It has the well, a lot of comics have this Marvel stamp that a lot of people would remove, and this one has these tattoos in it. So people, when you find it raw, you want to make sure that the tattoos are still in it, because if they've been removed, obviously the comic loses a lot of value.
Yeah.
But this is one that's huge spec book, and I think it's going to grow in value over the next couple years, and I do think it's inevitable that we'll see this particular character, and I'm pretty excited for it. This is a great spec book.
Oh wow! For those
Does
of
it
you
have the
who
tattoo?
are listening, Sean is currently showing us his copy of the comic.
I picked up an issue at a comic store in LA, and yeah, I got a great price on it. I think this is at least 9.6. I mean, it's in great condition, and I got it for like $250, which was incredible. But yeah, so 100% has the stamp in it. It actually says on there too. It says tattoos included on the little
That's awesome.
sticker. Yeah. So
Sleepyn, do you know? So let's say a book is in absolutely pristine condition, except it doesn't have the tattoos or the stickers or whatever that bonus is. What's like the highest grade you can get if it's missing that? Do you know?
You can get 9.8.
You can still get a 98. But
It's just gonna have a purple label. And now you know
Gotcha.
how they have the blue label, universal.
Mhm.
Because it's like basically the page is there's something missing.
Right.
yeah, it'd be incomplete.
Incomplete. Thanks. That's the word I wanted.
Yeah. Oh, so would it be a green label if it's incomplete?
Oh, wait, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Purple would be it's like somebody
Restoration.
modified it.
Got it,
Modified. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a bummer because it definitely hurts the value of the comic. I mean, it's like you're missing pages basically. They put it in the same category, which is rough.
It's kind of cool. It adds history because somebody actually put the stamp on something, or somebody actually put the tattoos. So I think it's actually kind of cool that if something's in pristine condition and it was used.
Yeah. Like this and Hulk 181, they both have stamps. As a 9.8 grade, this book is currently valued by Go Collect for $2,600 with a 90-day average sale of $3,065. So we've seen a nice increase in value for this book. And there are currently 2 9.9 grades that have never been sold. Sleepyn, what's our estimate?
$10,000? I don't know. I'm not very good at this game.
I mean, again, you have two 9.9s, it's only two, and they've never been sold. So, if you're in the market at the right time, people could FOMO into it, especially when if it inevitably, in my opinion, again, we'll find out eventually, but if Ned Leeds actually turns into the Hobgoblin, if you kind of time it out right, you could probably get quite a good amount for it. I mean, I'm thinking like 25K plus probably. It's very possible.
Yeah,
There's only two
possible.
in the highest grade.
And as we know, anything with these amazing Spider-Man keys, anything can happen. It's just Spider-Man's a different beast. We know that.
Yeah, exactly. Coming in number 7, New Mutants 87, the first appearance of Cable. Cable has both telepathic and telekinetic abilities. Basically, he can read people's minds and move objects by simply using his mind. He can also manipulate the thoughts and bodily functions of others, even from his vast distances. If he chooses, he also has the ability to disassemble objects and form defensive force fields. He was last seen in Deadpool 2, portrayed by Josh Brolin, who is also in the MCU as Thanos.
Very interesting. Yeah, such a funny one. But, obviously, we did see some of him, but they had a lot of CG. He was purple and, he looked like Thanos. And I do believe they said that Josh Brolin is open and they would bring him back potentially in the MCU as Cable. And he did a great job in that movie. So I hope they do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, he crushed it. He was so fun. He played off Ryan Reynolds so well. So good.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen the entire Deadpool 2. I've seen so many parts of it, though.
Oh, you got to watch it.
I've seen so many parts of it.
It's so great. That scene.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, in a good way, right?
Yeah.
The one scene I've seen like 15 times because it always comes up in my feed is the one where they pick the team, the X-Force team.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. It was so good.
And then they're just like, that one guy comes in, they're like, what do you do? And he's like, nothing. He's like, you're on the team.
You're on the team. I would absolutely love to see Josh Brolin come back into the MCU as Cable. He crushed it. I don't really see why you wouldn't bring him back. I'm sure he'd love to play the character too. And he's part of the Marvel family, and they probably have great rapport. As a 9.8 grade, this book is currently valued by GoColor to be worth $575 with a 90-day average sale of $566. This is an interesting book because it's always done well, but it's never like. Do you feel it's a hot book?
No, I mean, I think it's one that people like the character but don't love the character, and he's more of a B character. He's, and I think there's a lot of them. I'm not sure of the print run on this one, but I feel like there's a lot printed with this particular book.
Definitely, and it shows with the 9.9 grades. There's 5 9.9 grades, but they've never been sold. If one's sold tomorrow, what's the estimate here, Sleepin?
I'm going with 10K again.
Yeah, I was thinking between 10 to 20.
Well, and they talked about, doing movies with the X-Force team and whatnot. So it might, we might see this character quite a bit. And Josh Brolin is awesome. So I think it's going to be some fans for sure.
And as a 9.8 grade newsstand, the fair market value on Go Collect is currently $2,350. So worth way more.
A huge jump.
You're looking at 4x as a newsstand. That's amazing. So probably very scarce on the newsstand side compared to the direct editions. Coming at number 6, Amazing Spider-Man 299, the first appearance of Venom in costume.
Yeah, this is another one that once you get around that Spider-Man 300, and Venom is such a big character for Marvel. They've built, an incredible mythology, and really in the modern day, he might be the most important new character in all of Marvel. His comics sell extremely well, and Eddie Brock, and Venom are in almost all the new storylines. So this is everything leading up to Amazing Spider-Man 300, which is the first appearance of Venom, is hot, and of course it's Todd MacFarlane. So all these things work together. This is a big book.
So I have a question. So if this is the first appearance of Venom in costume, and that's 299, but number 300 is the first appearance of Venom. How does that work out, just for our listeners?
299 is the second cameo of Venom. Many consider this to be the first full appearance, and Todd MacFarlane in an interview even considers it to be the first full appearance. But obviously, the one that everybody goes for is ASM 300, which most people recognize as the first full appearance of
They probably also like that nice clean 300 number too.
Yeah.
That, and it's also a Todd McFarlane cover,
Yeah.
and it's one of the most iconic covers probably of all time. There are only 3 9.9 grades of this book of Spider-Man 299, and they have never been sold. Sleepyn estimates.
$10,000.
There we go. 10 to 20 again. Here we go. As 9.8 newsstand, the fair market value on Go Collect is $2,400. So very much like New Mutants 87, first appearance of Cable, seen a 3 to 4x. Really impressive. Coming at number 5, Secret Wars number 8. This is the origin of the alien symbiote that eventually becomes Venom. One of the most iconic and classic issues from Secret Wars series.
So this book, on a side note, is one of my personal favorites. And I try to remember as a kid various comics, and this is one I do remember. So that's one. And this is the one where we learn how Peter Parker gets the black suit, and the cover has just been used and swiped, and tons of homages to it. So it's a I think there's a lot of them that are graded, but it's one that almost everybody wants in their collection.
Yeah, there's quite a few of these. I actually own a couple myself. As a 9.8 and 9.6. The 9.6 is signed by Zach Beatty and Shooter, which is really cool. And the 9.8 is actually a newsstand.
Yeah, that is incredible.
There are a lot of graded copies of this comic. Very similar to Wolverine number 1. There's 21,000 graded copies, roughly about 21,000. That's incredible. And it still has a pretty high 9.8 grade, which is amazing.
Yeah, like I've owned 10 of these at one point. Raw,
Yeah.
not 9.8s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one that was highly printed, highly sought after. But it's one, like I said, it's like the only positive of it is like literally everybody wants one in their collection.
As a 9.8 grade, this book is currently valued by GoClit for $725 with a 90-day average sale of $808. I think this went down a little bit because I think this book was about $1,200, maybe up to $1,500. Because I sold the 9.8 copy for like the newsstand for around like $1,800, I think, or to $2,000.
Wow,
It was at its peak.
I sold my 9.8 for $275.
Oh wait, but mine was newsstand though. It was a newsstand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There are currently 23 9.9 grades on the CGC census. And the last one was sold in 2021 for $16,800. That's insane. So that was last September, as what, like 6 to 10 months ago. I don't think it's unrealistic to see this book go for about 25 on the next sale.
Yeah, I think it's just so iconic. Everybody loves this cover. So it definitely could go super, super high.
And then you look at it, 4 10.0 grades. The last sale was in 2019 for $14,000. I mean,
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Sleepyn? What could this sell for?
I was going to say $10,000, but that would not be accurate. So I don't know, $50,000. It could go pretty high.
No, I was thinking 52. So
that would be double.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that sounds about right. As a 9.8 newsstand, the fair market value on Go Collect is $1,550. So you're looking at about 2x for a newsstand copy.
And this is the book that had the original panels that sold recently for $3 million, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 4, Amazing Spider-Man 301. This is a very, very classic cover, a key Todd McFarlane cover, in fact.
I mean, there's really no significance to it other than that it's just this classic Todd McFarlane cover. I think most Spider-Man collectors want, if they can, get one of these in their collection for sure.
Yeah, it's such an amazing cover. It's absolutely gorgeous. As the 9.8, according to Go Collect, this book is currently valued at $1,850 with a 90-day average sale of $2,420. So you're seeing this book really push up a lot. $2,400. That's crazy. I remember this was like an $800 comic, like a couple of years ago. This wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it's really moved up. All these Todd McFarlane Spider-Man covers have really moved up over the past years. So that's something I always remember. We don't necessarily always talk about the artists, more of the first appearances and other things. But when you have like Todd McFarlane or Frank Miller, any of these, really, really awesome artists, all their covers are now starting to really push up.
Speaking of which, that brings us to number 3. Incredible Hulk 340. This is the classic Hulk versus Wolverine cover where you see the reflection of the Hulk on Wolverine's claws. So sick. And I mean, I think this is probably top 5, if not top 3 covers of all time by Todd MacFarlane. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree 100%. This so this one is more of a Wolverine key, I think, even though it's an Incredible Hulk book. I think, there's a lot of people that are huge Wolverine fans. Obviously, the first appearance of Wolverine, which is Hulk 181, is one they want. But then what collectors generally do is they're going to go and grab all of these iconic covers. And this is way up there. We saw Wolverine 1 Limited. That's way up there. And this one is, top 5 from a Wolverine cover perspective. Wow.
It's a newsstand too.
You signed and signed by Todd.
It is signed by Todd.
And signed by Todd.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What grade do you think it is?
From a contact I met on Instagram. Really cool guy.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite.
Are you going to get a couple of those graded at CBCS or no?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Maybe explain the difference between like getting your signature verified through CBCS and what CGC can't do for you in that situation.
So when you go to CGC, if you get signatures on your comic book and you want to get it graded, you have to go in person, and they have witnesses, and the witnesses will authenticate the signature in person. They don't do a verification where you get it signed, and afterwards they make sure, oh yeah, that's a real signature. They have people actually assess the signature. Whereas CBCS, they're a company owned by Beckett, and Beckett does signature verifications. So because of Beckett and their ownership, they're able to do that and offer that service. Although I will say there has been times when those signatures are not 100% accurate. I mean, they've actually did that recently. Somebody did a test. I think it was like a Mickey Mantle signature, and he sent it in. And Sleepyn, did we talk about this? No?
I'm familiar with the guy. Maybe it's the same guy, but there's this guy from Europe that sent in a bunch of stuff. I can't remember what it was, and it was all he forged it himself. He did a video on it or whatever.
Oh, so rough.
Wow.
That's so rough. Yeah, that stings. Coming in at number 2, X-Men 266. And this is one of my favorite comics ever because he's one of my favorite characters ever. The first appearance of Gambit. And Gambit is a mutant from Nolans, not New Orleans, Nolans, with the ability to mentally create, control, and manipulate pure kinetic energy. He is also incredibly knowledgeable and skilled in card throwing, hand-to-hand combat, and the use of his bow staff. This character is so sick, and I cannot wait to see him in the MCU, which I feel like he has to come. I mean, he was in an X-Men film. I think it was actually in one of the Wolverine films. Yeah, I mean, I know that Channing Tatum has wanted to play this character for a long time. He's pitched himself hard. And it makes total sense. And he actually is, I think, from the New Orleans area, and he knows the Cajun accent really well. It makes so much sense. Why would you not have Channing? He looks awesome. He would be a perfect Gambit. Why?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, this is a huge book. And Gambit is one of those X-Men that people love. I think it's 100% they'll bring him to the MCU, and they just got to figure out how to do it and find the right time. Plus, as you said, there's so many things going on down in New Orleans, Blade potentially. I just feel like they're going to run into this guy at some point, and people are going to lose their minds. This is the first appearance of Gambit, although, as you may or may not know, X-Men Annual 14 came out, I think, a month earlier, maybe a week earlier, something like that. And he talks in that one. He meets all the requirements for a first appearance. But the market just dictates that this one is. Now, the X-Men Annual doesn't have a very good cover, so maybe that hurts it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is really the go-to. And I'm sure they'll bring this to VeVe. But they might try and time it. It might be a while because they might try and time it. MCU.
I am going to slam that secret rare. It's going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool.
I've seen the 9.9. I think I saw it at a Comic-Con.
Wow.
I can see it in my mind. I can't remember where I saw it, but I've seen the 9. Someone have physically seen the 9.9. As you said, there's not very many of them.
Wow.
I love the art on this book. I honestly, all the Uncanny X-Men books, like that's probably like some of my favorite comic book art ever. But Sean and I, we both own copies of this book.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both. It's really cool. They're both newsstands, and we actually had them signed in person by Jim Lee, and also Andy Kubert. And then actually on Sunday, Spencer, it's confirmed now. We're going to the Revolution Comic Con, which is in Ontario, California, near Anaheim, and Chris Claremont's going to be there. So we're going to be able to look at the trifecta. Yeah,
Add another
really pumped
signature to the
about it.
book.
Oh, also Jerry
What's the
Conway's-
grade you have on this book?
It's probably they're probably both at least about 8.0 to 9.0, maybe.
I have a 9.6 of this one. I don't even remember how I got it, which is probably odd.
Well, if you want to ship it to me, I can get it signed by Chris Claremont for you. You
It's up
got a
on my
couple
wall
days.
right there. I'd think about it.
You got a few days.
When are you going?
I leave Saturday, so I would just need it by Friday.
You're a little rough.
Yeah,
Maybe there'll be another chance.
Has a 9.8 grade. This book is currently valued at $875 by Go Collect and has a 90-day average sale of $990. As you mentioned, the 9.9, there are 15 9.9 graded comics. The last one sold in 2015 for $3,228. What a steal. Today, that would sell for Sleepyn.
I'm thinking 10,000.
I'm thinking minimum 20. I can't imagine.
You're probably right.
I can't imagine it selling for anything less than 20. Probably because there's 15 of them, so it's not incredibly scarce, but they don't happen very often. The last sale happened.
And there are some huge Gambit fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, yeah, this could be at least, maybe it could be 20, 30, maybe even up to 50. Who knows? I mean, they had a sale, like I said, this last sale there's 15 of them, but the last sale was 8 years ago, 8 years ago. So the newsstand is very hot for this comic. As the 9.8, the newsstand fair market value on Go Collect is $2,350. So you're looking at a 3x because of a newsstand. People love it. People love that newsstand.
Coming in at number 1 is Amazing Spider-Man 300, first
There it
appearance
is.
of Venom.
There it is. Boom. Venom, as everyone knows, has superhuman strength, the ability to heal its host by shape-shifting powers, the ability to create weapons literally out of nothing, has heightened sensory perception, and the ability to reproduce itself. Venom is portrayed by Tom Hardy in Sony's version of Venom, which we've seen him also actually teasing the MCU. Do you think we'll probably see him in the MCU more often?
Oh yeah, they've got to figure it out with Sony. But this is, from the comic perspective, Venom, like I said, is probably one of the most important characters in the last 20, 30 years. Marvel always has an ongoing run right now of Venom, and he's, crosses into other comics. He's really kind of their go-to character almost in terms of pulling in readers. Being that this is the first appearance, and I know it was a large print run, but it's still, such an iconic cover along with the first appearance of this character. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, one of my first purchases actually was a 9.6 of this comic, and it was signed by Todd MacFarlane. But I had it cracked, and I had it signed by David McElhenney, which is really, really rad. Yeah, I actually had a chance to meet him in person. Such a nice guy, such a cool dude. And so everyone who knows who he is, he actually is a creator of Venom and Ant-Man, Scott Lang's version of Ant-Man, Taskmaster, just to name a few. It was really cool actually, because I asked him, because I think Ant-Man 2 came out at the time, what he thought about Scott Lang's character, and he said, well, it's interesting because he's a lot sillier than I expected him to be. He's a lot sillier, but he said the most important thing for me was that they nailed the relationship between him and his daughter, and they executed it beautifully, and that meant so much to me. Like, oh, David. Oh, what a nice guy. Such a genuine dude.
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked him that. That's interesting. Most people are probably, don't ask him questions like that. That's awesome.
Fun. It was fun because you could feel how much that character meant to him. As a 9.8 grade, this book is currently valued by Go Collect for $4,700 with a 90-day average sale of $6,000. Oh man. I mean, when I got my 9.6 signed by MacFarlane, I got it for $850.
Wow, great deal.
Yeah, great deal. I got it for $850, and I think the 9.8 at the time was maybe $2 at tops. No, it wasn't even that. It was like $1,500.
Oh.
That was in 2019.
Yeah, this is another one of those books where we use the word grail a lot, and I think this, some books fit fit that description, some don't. But this particular book, I really feel like is a grail. And as the character Venom continues to grow over the next, whenever, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, this one is only going to keep going up in value. In terms of them bringing it to VeVe, once again, I think they might try to match when they have Venom in another movie. And I'm sure they're going to have another movie. I'm sure they're going to bring them to MCU. I'm sure we're going to see Venom all over the place.
There are 10 9.9 grades. The last sale was in 2017 for $13,500. Sleeping, let's get an estimate.
I was going to say 10,000, but this is such a big book. Gotta say, maybe it's going to be up there, $20,000, $30,000, something like that.
Am I crazy to think that this next sale, I mean, this sale was 5 years ago. Am I crazy to think this could be $100,000 comic as a 9.9 grade?
It seems high, but maybe. You never know. I mean, and it's finding the right buyer, right? And these probably only going to be sold one at a time.
Yeah.
And there's some crazy Venom fans. So
Especially
yeah,
if
it's possible.
Especially if it was signed by like Todd MacFarlane.
Oh, if it was signed, it'd be amazing. Especially by Todd MacFarlane. I mean, come on.
Exactly. And as a 9.8 newsstand, the fair market value on Go Collect is $15,000. That's insane.
And once again, that's just because, I would bet, I don't know, but 10%, 20% of them are newsstands. So very, very small percentage. And then getting a 9.8, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
If you had a 9.9 of this book, would you risk cracking it to get a Todd signature on it?
Hell no. Hell no.
No.
Hell no. Because the thing is, probably back then when it was graded, it probably was graded a lot more lenient. Because the problem is with those grades, man. I mean, Spencer, as you saw recently, what happened to you, man?
Yeah, I know.
Tell that story.
Yeah, I had I think it was Moon Knight 25. I had it graded as a 9.8 CGC. Sent it in to get signed. Came back as a 9.6.
Yeah, the difference between a 9.6 and 9.8 is really.
They pressed it too.
Yeah, he's not for press and cleaning. That was the worst part about it.
Press and clean, and they still reduced it to a 9.6.
I mean, things can go wrong. That's the biggest thing that I get scared of. Even me, I'm pressing the stuff. I press the stuff myself. You can make a mistake, drop it on the floor, or even. I mean, the paper in the last 5 to 10 years, the paper on the Marvel comics is so terrible that if you rub your thumb against it wrong, it's going to rub off half the cover ink, and then you're going to be, so it's all, you have to be very careful. And, I think sometimes, depending on what's happening, they're opening it out. Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
All right, boys, let's pick a comic. What are you most excited to see on VeVe? Pick one.
Uncanny X-Men 266, because I want to match my physical with the digital.
I would say probably Amazing Spider-Man 300, because I'm a huge Venom fan.
Love it. I'm probably going to go with X-Men 266, although I would love to see the secret rare for Incredible Hulk 340. That's going to be really, really, really rad. Although I feel like hopefully it doesn't piggyback off the Hulk 181, which will be coming up on the next video, potentially. No spoilers. Sleepin, thanks so much for joining us today. Everyone, if you haven't subscribed to his YouTube channel, make sure to do so at Sleepyn Comics, and also on Twitter at Sleepyn Comics. You are amazing, wonderful human being, and I adore you in every way. And I love working on these videos, man. You're so amazing.
This is great. I really appreciate it. And we got to do it again for sure.
Absolutely. Until next time, thanks so much for joining, everyone.
Don't forget to stay awesome, and remember, the moon, let's go to Mars. Music is by NineFinger. Make sure to check out their music at NineFinger.com. And you can follow them on Instagram at NineFinger999. Be sure to check them out and send them some love.